Start the tier list, and it looks like we got everything here. I think this is supposed to be exploding juvies. So we're gonna start off with the original Gears. I'm pretty sure these are like Gears 4 models, but this is obviously Gears of War 1 drone. I would probably say Gears of War drone is like alpha. It's pretty good. He is kind of very generic to what we get later down the line, but what makes him pretty solid is he has a solid voice. He has actually a lot of voice lines, a lot of like different voice lines. I would say boomers because they're just iconic, and I would probably have to say they go over the drones. I'm not just ranking these enemies, how are they as enemies, but their significance, how cool they are, also their legacy, what they bring to not just fighting them, but playing as them, and what are they as like people's memorable kind of like stuff. So like for example, if you play Gears 1 through Gears like 5 and you start playing E-Day, you know these characters somewhat very well, but if you're a new player, what does these characters kind of bring to the table? And the reason why he's not an S tier or Super Marcus is because basically he's kind of generic. I mean, his outfit, like, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of different versions of the drone. So if you want to consider all of the drones in one category, they could be S tier, because then it would be just the drone having multiple outfits and multiple voice lines and multiple different like voice lines and what have you. I would probably say the Wretch is probably like B tier. Honestly, they're as like a horde fighting enemy, they're pretty good. They come in packs. They have a memorable scream. They have a funny monkey dog joke from Gears of War 2 that I never forget. To me, I think wretches are fine. They're okay to play as. They only have like basically two attacks, and that's either, well, technically, if you want to consider their stun an attack, you can say that as well because it can stun enemies around them, which basically is very helpful for teammates to come and get a good whacking, especially if they're playing Mauler in beast mode. But honestly, like right now, excuse me, but beast mode sucks. It's overly hyped. There's only 12 waves, and I honestly, going back and playing it again, at first, like, it's one of those things that the novelty is very good when you first start playing Gears and you get to finally play as the Locust. And I remember playing them on like day one, and I thought, well, these things are like awesome. I get to play as Berserker. But once you play as a Berserker like 200 times, it has like no, like, you start to get the point where you stop playing the game aggressively as a player, and you just start walking around like you're a Berserker and like ramming into things and like pretending like you're the boss in the Gears of War 2. I would have to say Cantus. I would have to say Cantus are less. I would say they're memorable, but they only were in like one. Well, technically they were in Gears 3 as like beast mode and also armored Cantus. So I would have probably put them in B, but since they have armored Cantus, which is I don't think is on the list, I don't know. Then yeah, but I think I would honestly put them in S tier, because even though they were basically only in one game, and in Gears 2 they were armored Cantus, they're very memorable. I mean, they stand out. They're tall. They're interesting. They do have a lot of lore to them. And also, they're probably, I mean, they don't have a ton of voice lines. So I'll drop them down, and I'll put the drone, because the drone does have quite a lot of voice lines, and I think that makes up for the drone being like bland in that sense. And I don't mean like bland, like, oh, he's just a very generic like soldier, he doesn't stand out. I think his voice acting carries the drone a ton, and I think it gives it like a lot of that, like that deep kind of gravitas what the drone has. Um, oh, Scions. I'm gonna put Scions in D tier beast mode because I like the idea of a smart boomer, but the issue is I think Gears 5 absolutely ruined the speaker. I think you had a very huge chance to have a memorable villain. And they absolutely chose, and I'm not one of these like red pill idiots who are like, women can't be strong, they have to be in the kitchen type of people. No. The thing is with like this character is they weaken him so much, and I'm gonna count all the Scions as like the same there unless they're different Scions on here. But like they are just so like bad. I feel like they're trying to be a boomer mixed with a Cantus, and I think they're just badly like put into the game. I think they're not fun. I think fighting against them is not fun, especially if they have boom shots or drop shots, because they have that auto lock on mechanic, and it sucks because on higher difficulties these guys just suck. Like if you don't take them out, they are awful to deal with in Gears 4. They basically will shoot not over cover, but they'll literally shoot on the hitbox that will hit your hitbox on cover. So if you're behind cover, they will literally shoot the hitbox that's on the cover, so which will basically just down you. So they basically get auto lock on, and they're not even memorable at all. Like they just suck. And I see why they made Gears E-Day. I mean, the Grenadier is just a more memorable drone in my opinion. I think he has fewer voice lines. I think if somebody wants to correct me on that, they can. And also like the Savage Grenadier and the like Marauder, or I think the Marauder Grenadier, I don't remember which Grenadier it was, the pirate one. It looks really sick. I think they absolutely nailed it. I think Grenadier's perfect. I love his laugh. He was like my main Gears 2 for the Locust. I absolutely love the Grenadier's laugh. It is like perfection. It's so like dark and like crunchy and like perfect for what a Locust laugh should sound like. I think it's absolutely great. And yeah, he's just great. Like he's all around good. He's memorable. He's got a deep voice. He's got that aura, as kids like to say. He mogs. I mean, he's just like an enemy that runs at you with a shotgun and grenades. The only thing I hate about him is the grenades, because he could lob them over cover, or he could lob them and then sometimes the grenade like tink 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 like or hit the floor is so quiet, especially in moments of battle, that I've seen him wipe out entire teams because his grenade is like so overly powered and there's no counter to it other than jump away. But like if you're in a bad spot or you're getting pushed and he throws a grenade, it is like the most awful thing ever. So I'm not gonna put down the character because they just basically have a really bad game mechanic that's really broken. This is beast mounts, but there's no rider, which I'd probably have to say the beast mount would probably go our first C tier, because it's just like a charging enemy that bites. It's basically the equivalent of an attack dog. And without the rider, it's basically just an attack dog without a turret. I mean, they're alright. They're cool. I mean, like, for lore-wise, they're kind of interesting to eat human heads. Which, it's kind of funny to think that there's a locust, or a group of locusts that go around the battlefield and just chop human heads off. And then, like, bring them back to the corpser. To me, that's very funny. I find that very kind of funny. Like, oh, what are you going to do today? Oh, just gotta go lob some heads off. Yes, queen. Slay. I think this is baby corpsers, which they're not really memorable. They're only in like one scene, and they're basically just a copy of the corpser. Actually, no, I'll put them in C tier because these things suck. I hate mini corpsers. They absolutely suck. The fact that they could go underground and you can't hit their arm. As far as I remember, you can't hit their arm. Or it's like the arm is invincible. So basically the enemy gets a free attack on you. And you basically can't do anything until they get out, and then they could block your damage. So if you're fighting these guys in like unless you have a flamethrower like a scorcher, these things are just annoying. They're basically just doors that push you and then they slam on top of you. These things suck. I hate these things with a burning passion because they're god awful. And I'm like, what I said was like, I'm not gonna add, like, for example, the Grenadier is like, I get that that's what the Grenadier does, but it's still a bad mechanic. But I'm not gonna hold that against that character. But this character I'm gonna hold that against because that's his whole gameplay. At least with the Grenadier, it's not like he just always walks up. It's like a percentage chance with him. And it's not like he always walks up and just lobs a grenade from 80 feet away and then calls it a day and hides behind cover. No, he doesn't do that. With this character, he will literally go around if he takes enough damage. Yeah, he'll open himself up to get hit. But if you're playing on high difficulty, good luck trying to kill these things and multiple things alone. And then on top of that, he'll go into cover and then basically just do the stupid swing, swing, swing attack where it'll like stab the ground with one claw, and it's like, maybe make them slower. Like, and that's what I hate about Gears 3 Horde, is it doesn't feel very balanced. It feels like they just throw crap in there. Like, because the problem is that the difficulty is based off of player bases. Or no, let me phrase that. The difficulty is set, but the enemy encounters are set to be made from I mean, I could be wrong about this. Someone could correct me, but basically, the enemy encounter is basically kind of set, like the number of enemies you'll fight, I believe, is possibly based off the number of players. But I also think that it's also maybe set so if it's like you got 5 people, the same amount of enemies would be there as if you only played as one person. So if you played as one person and there's 4 corpsers, and then you play as like 5 people, there would still be 4 corpsers. And this is like a bad mechanic because this doesn't take in mind how many people are in one set lobby. So if you wanted to play solo, it would be like detrimental to you because the game is set to have 5 people in it, not just 1. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. Now corpsers, you only fight a corpser a couple times, and their boss battle is very bad. I'm just gonna say it. their boss battle is very bad. And you also have to fight these things and these things. Let's just call these mini corpsers, or let's call these babies. Let's call these like nymphs, and these like toddlers or let's call them teenagers. No, let's call them mini. Yeah, let's call them mini corpsers, because I think the game calls them mini corpsers. So you got baby, mini, and adult. And adult corpser boss fights are really bad. Even in Gears 3, it was kind of really bad fighting this thing, because it was basically just a discount berserker fight. And it sucked having to fight these things. And like I said, these things in Horde, they suck ass. They're awful. They have a bad game mechanic, because the problem with these type of enemies is they should have a lot less health. Like, they should have a lot less. They should not be that tanky. In my opinion, they should feel like just remove this enemy, in my opinion, and just keep this enemy. That way, if they have their feet up and they're blocking, they take less damage, obviously, but they're not like super tanky to deal with. But these things are just god-awful, because if they block, you don't do any damage to them, and they would just walk towards you, and it's basically just a door walking towards you, and it's a dumb enemy mechanic. Like, I get bulwark enemies, but like in certain games, there's a counter to deal with them, or a class, or what have you, and there's really no like class to deal with these things, because Gears of War 3 doesn't have classes in Horde. So unless you have like fire, and you're on a map where fire, like a Scorcher, might spawn, yeah, fuck these enemies. They're awful. Cedars are boo-boo. I mean, there's not really much to say. They're not even really an enemy. They're just kind of something you blow up. And if anything, the things they shoot out, the mortars, are kind of more of an enemy rather than them. I mean, this is General Rom, literally S tier. I mean, his boss fight is... I would probably say he's probably the most iconic Locust in this franchise, to be honest. Like, hands down. Yeah, you know, actually, that's fair. He's got a lot of good voice lines. He's very memorable. He has that aura. He definitely mogs. Because kids like to say mog nowadays. He also has probably one of the most god-awful boss fights, because he's just a bullet sponge, but if you know how to cheese his boss fight, he's pretty easy. Like, once you know how to... I would probably say, if you're starting to fight him, he's like a good boss fight. But if you don't know how to... If you know how to play around his mechanics, or you know how to cheese him where he bugs into a wall and he just stands there, or like you just constantly let Dom die because the bot is actually stupid, and thank God the bot cannot die, because honestly, if Dom could die, it would make the boss fight fucking F tier. And also the other thing is like... Also, the other thing is, he's so, it's so hard. He's so memorable, but also, I think, like I said, the problem with him, and I'm not going to hold his boss fight against him, because he's just a legacy character. Like, his voice is great, his voice lines are great. I think he's the perfect villain for Gears. I think he does everything that Gears does very well. He's very mostly quiet, and I think what makes him shine is he doesn't need to be this super, like, talkative, over-the-top villain who's mustache twirling. He's just like, I'm gonna get the job done. no matter what. And everywhere he goes, he just fucking shrieks and murders. And I know he does shriek, but he just kicks ass. And it makes him such a great villain. We're gonna put Brumox and we're gonna put them in B tier because I feel like the Brumox is also very memorable. I mean, it's a giant dinosaur with guns on it. You can't put that any lower than B, in my opinion. Fighting them is kind of a pain in the ass because you gotta shoot their guns and they have the auto lock on. So the problem with them is like once you start, and then you got the one from Gears 4 with the fucking what's it called? The fucking stupid pimples you gotta blow up and you gotta electrocute it and yada yada yada. But it is fun riding them in Gears 2, but you only do it once, so it's still pretty memorable. So I'll put them in A tier for that. I think this is a boss battle. I think this is Leviathan, which you only fight it one time, and it's not that memorable. It's kind of like blah, in my opinion. It's kind of like meh. I know I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this, but I think the centipedes suck. They're just god awful, and you have to shoot them in the back in the campaign, and having to go behind an enemy typically sucks in games, especially if there's a ton of them. Maybe if this was just one giant big centipede, I could kind of get around it, but when you have to fight multiple and you have to shoot their tail, and like I kind of get I'll bump them up to B because now I'm thinking I like the mechanic of shooting them in the tail, but I hate it because it's also I have to play around this one enemy or I won't be able to damage the enemy, and if I'm playing in like high difficulty, it just sucks. Because if I have to sit there and fight everything around this one enemy, and I'm alone, it just sucks. Because usually, like solo play, these enemies are pretty annoying. If you're playing with like a group of people, one guy distracts and the other guy shoots them, and then they turns around and you just do the same thing, which it kind of makes the enemy feel more tankier. I'm pretty sure this is a Reaver. So we're just gonna put the Reaver right there. And like I said, the other thing is this, if there's multiple of them, they could actually sit on top of each other's like weak spot, and basically you can't do anything. I've had that happen where they'll sit on top of each other's weak spot and you have to drag them away. Luckily they're really slow. Like, I mean, they could keep up with you somewhat, but luckily they're slow, so you could kind of get behind them, but they only show up in like certain modes. I'm gonna drop them to like Clay Carmine tier because honestly, if you're playing on a map where they have any type of incline, it is so hard to hit their tail, and I think that's really stupid for enemy to be basically invincible if the map has staircase or any type of slope. Especially on like one of the favorite maps that a lot of people like is like Blood Drive, where these things can literally just go up to your fence and eat your fence out, and you can't do anything unless you want to run over there and try to kill yourself, like picking them up or like shooting them. Which, yeah, that's why I dropped them to C tier, because they're just not really great. Now with Reavers, Reavers are... I feel like Reavers suck. And the reason why they suck fighting against them is because they have this rocket launcher that's basically a boom shot, and you're supposed to shoot the locust off top of them, but sometimes they could still shoot it, if I remember correctly, and it's just fucking annoying because they're just tanky, basically turret, boom shot turret enemies that will just sit there and shoot at you, and they're not fun to fight against. Like, you know, they're gonna be like, oh, a Reaver flew next to me. Oh, this is gonna be fun. You'll say that like sarcastically. I would probably have to say, that this is good so far. I would probably have to say, I would definitely have to say that, yeah. Then we got Sires, so this looks like Gears of War 2 Sire, which are, I think they're memorable, but they're never like scary. I remember playing Gears of War 2 as like a kid in like, 2009. So I was about, I was probably like 14, 15. And these enemies did not scare me at all. They're basically just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think memorable, that's why they're not in D tier, is that they are memorable. They are kind of very cool in that sense. But they kind of suck in the sense of like you could just chainsaw them, which made them fun. I guess that's what made them memorable to me. But basically, they're just chainsaw. Please chainsaw me now, Daddy. Daddy Marcus Phoenix. Ooh. That's pretty much what they are. And I think I like the idea of them, but they're kind of funny to watch outside of like the original map. Because, you know, to me, I feel like they're blah, you know. I feel like I don't know, they're good fodder enemies. So I'll put them in A. I think they're good fodder enemies. If this is Gears of War 4 and 5 Sires, where they basically kind of hug you and then pull you away, which makes them into like jockeys basically. I would probably say, that's fair. Like I said, they're kind of memorable, but I think they're more annoying really than anything. I have no idea what the hell this enemy is. Oh, I think this is Cedars. Okay, yeah, I think this is like Cedars mortars, so I think that's what that is. But basically, these things are fucking awful. I'm not even gonna lie. Fuck Ragers. I hate Ragers. Honestly, they are practically like not really that solid. I mean, they run really fast, and when you play on Insane, these things are so annoying because they're basically just super speedy, goofy ass looking run animation. It looks really, really goofy. They run like 400 miles an hour, but they only go like 10 feet. And they are so like, they're just not fun to play against. Like if they didn't rage, I think the enemy would be, actually let me put because they're just basically snipers. And honestly, I would probably have to say that's fair. Because these are like one-off enemies. They don't come a ton. I know he's a one-off enemy as well, but out of, uh, but then he turns into a rager, so I would definitely have to say he's about like right there. I'm not gonna really consider bosses as like, I guess if I had to consider them as enemies, it's like one-time enemy. Uh, the parasites from Gears 2. These things are not, they're not bad enemies, so I'll consider them kind of like fodder enemies. They're not like god awful. They're not memorable. Um, they're just okay. What the fuck is that? What is that? What is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Oh, I think that's the sea. I don't know. I just remember that. I think that's the sea enemies in Gears 2. Okay, tickers, S tier. I mean, they're memorable. They have a very classic sound effect. They're really great enemies. They're fun to kill. They have easy counterplay. And they're not bad at all. I think they're just generally great all around, and that's why they deserve to be an S tier. I mean, it just basically looks like all of Gears 1 and 2 up here. Krill. I honestly feel like Krill is not really an enemy. It's more of like a hazard because you don't fight it. So that goes there. I just thought of a really dumb joke. You know what? Let's just do F tier. Oh, you know, let's do non-enemies. Non-enemies. These are enemies you don't fight. Like, these are enemies you don't fight. I mean, technically, I guess you do fight these enemies. So, we'll put them here. I mean, Queen Mira's Beetle, this thing just sucks ass. I'm not even gonna lie. It sucks ass. It has this stupid ray attack where you have to sit behind cover, and it is god awful. I think it just sucks. I don't know why she doesn't use like all these locusts at disposal. this is not literally even an enemy. Technically, you can fight it, but like you can blow them up. But I think you're the one using them mostly, if I remember correctly. This thing just sucks. I'm gonna put these in. What the fuck is that? Because honestly, you only fight them like once, and they're really not like. Oh, I think maybe they're underwater, but yeah, that's only in like one scene. So I'm gonna put these as like. I'm gonna put these as like non or one off enemies. I'm not gonna put bosses in here because it doesn't really make sense to put a boss in a one-off enemy thing, because they're not meant to be fought multiple times. What the hell is that? What is that? I am looking at this. I have no idea what this is. So we're just gonna put that there because I have no idea what the hell it is. The classic Berserker. I feel like the Berserker definitely goes over the Sire for more memorable moments. Because you only fight the Sires like once, and you fight the Berserker multiple times through the series. You fight her in Gears 1. You fight her in Gears 1 twice. No, I think that's Gears 3 you fight her in like a DLC or something. I'm trying to remember. You fight her in a gym. And, or I don't know what game that was. You fight her, and then you also fight the Berserker. So, yeah, she's very, very memorable. She's a great addition to Gears 1. She's not in Gears 2, actually, I'm thinking about. So, yeah, I'm thinking of Gears 3, which she was in. I think she's in, like, a DLC or something. Oh, these... Wait, is this the only Lambent enemy? Okay, it looked like they were together for a second. Okay, okay, I know what that is. Okay, for a second there I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay, so we got Gears, Lambent, drones. I'm not seeing the, I am not seeing the, others, so I'm going to count these, but not as dredges. These guys honestly just suck. I mean, they're basically what's the word? They're basically just reskinned drones and reskinned like Grenadiers. That's all they have. They're not memorable. They're not cool. They don't have like any special mutations. I'm pretty sure this is the Grenadier, but because I know drones turn into drudges. Yeah, I think this is just a Grenadier now I'm thinking about it. Corpser fight. This is probably... this is a tough place to put it, because it did have aura don't get me wrong, it was cool, but I think they tried to, like, you have to shoot the Corpser in the face, then the eyeballs. Okay, Juvies, they're just discount. They're just annoying. Like, honestly, they're probably, I would probably put these guys, I mean, you could take them out quick enough, they're not that annoying, but in certain maps they'll just come around corners. So I think honestly, that's okay. I'll come back to them. They're not called tickers. I think they are called tickers. They're called wild tickers. Yeah, wild tickers. Honestly, they're not that bad. I will give them a nice solid B tier. They're basically just tickers, but without the explosions, and I honestly can't hate them. Plus, they're pretty disposable. They're not like a super annoying enemy. So I'd say that they're there. Discount tickers from Gears 4. These things kind of suck, but they're not like god awful. So I would probably say they're about right there. That's fair. You know, actually, I'll put them like right there. The robots, they just suck. I mean, honestly, as an enemy, they're basically the Gears equivalent of, oh, we're not going to put humans in the game, so we can make them robots. Ooh, I would definitely say as enemies, they're very slow moving. Like, they don't run at all. So I would probably have to say on Insane, I would probably say they're about right there. They're a good C tier enemy. Trika enemies, I would probably have to say that's a one-off enemy. They don't really show up that much, and this looks like Gears 1 Trikas aren't like guy, we have to sneak around him, so he's not like that memorable. Wait. Oh, okay. I mean, these are boomers, so I would probably have to say the Butcher is right there. He's not that very memorable, but he does come very, very nice. He also is very, very cool, and I'll leave it at that because I know some people kind of find him okay, this is a better version of this, because I would say probably the Flame Boomer is so entertaining, especially to watch their thing explode. It puts them in A tier. Plus, they're literally a boomer. And I feel like the Butcher doesn't have a ton of voice lines, and he kind of sucks to play. Okay, Cyclops. Cyclops have chainsaws, but they're pretty balanced, so I would probably have to put them there. They are a drone. They're elite drones, but we'll get into the drone category because they kind of branch off from, they can either be normal drone to Grenadier, or normal drone to Cyclops, or normal drone to Theron Guard. So it's kind of like, honestly, like a skill tree at that point. I mean, the Flame Grenadier, I think these are Grenadiers or drones, but either way, I think they have the same fun thing about the Flame Boomers, so I would definitely have to put them there. looking at this list, I'd probably have to say the Brumok would probably be at the bottom there. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just basically means like grinders. Grinders are okay, in my opinion. I would probably say they go into B tier because once they start going off, they're kind of annoying to deal with. But at the same time, they're not like god-awful enemies, because I'm also rating these enemies on like how it is to deal with them, because that is a kind of a big plus. And I should probably put like a boss entry, in my opinion, because the boss entry is kind of something significant. But I mean, I guess I could do that. Yeah. Let's put bosses. Let's put add row above. Let's put that as bosses. Oh, did not mean to do that. Okay. Let's put that as okay. Oh yeah, obviously S tier. But let's go and put all the bosses up there. And I'm not going to count bosses as one enemy, because you're not supposed to fight bosses multiple times. That doesn't really make any sense. So they wouldn't be, in a sense, a one-off enemy. Even though I know a lot of people would say, oh, but yeah, they are a one-off enemy because you fight them once. But an enemy means that implies that, like, it is an enemy, like, one-off. Like, if you say, my enemy is the French, you're not saying, like, oh, you take out one Frenchman and it's like, you're done. You know? It's like, ah. I still have no idea what the hell this is. I really don't. Whoever made this maker, a template can be used. The original game, Judgment, Defy from Locust Horde, Swarm Invasion, not counting spin-off games like Gears of War Tactics. Okay, to be fair, this was a year ago. Okay, this is not being updated. This is Savage Cantus, and I really don't remember anything about them, to be honest. Like, and when I also mean one-off enemies, pretty sure you fight this guy multiple times. I'm not 100% sure. But I also mean by one-off enemies is in the line of, like, these enemies are only in particular parts of the games, or they're just non-enemies. Like, this is just a normal drone enemy. Once you take him off the Troika, it's just a drone enemy. And I think once you get close, it gets off the Troika, so basically I wouldn't even consider that, like, a one-off enemy, because they're just like turret drones, and you fight them multiple times through the series. So, and then you got stuff like Krill, who are considered, to me, they're more like a hazard rather than an enemy. Where we have the Mauler, Crush, and the Mauler, I would probably have to say goes behind the I would probably say, there we go, that's kind of better. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put, because you only play as the Boomer once, and the Boomer is kind of more like a sub boss, really. But I don't remember this fight that much, so I remember Queen Mira's beetle being goddamn annoying. Now for the Corpser, I'm assuming this is not a boss Corpser, now I'm thinking about it. But you do fight a Corpser in Gears 1. So, I'm not really sure. This looks like a regular drone, a regular Daron, and the other one looks like an elite. So, I mean, you already know where these guys are going. These guys are going right behind. I would argue that the Theron Guard is actually better than the elite drone, because I don't remember the Cyclops really having that much voice lines. I don't know if that was like a glitch or a problem or anything, but basically it's like I think the elite Cyclops, or the Cyclops, just I think it has a little more voice lines, but the voice lines are different. What the hell is that? Is that a helicopter? When the fuck do you fight a plane? The only time I could think of this being a enemy, but you can't fight it, is when it drops the DVs down. That's a fucking non-enemy if I've ever seen anyone. Wardens. Wardens have the same problem that the Corpsers have, but they're just actually a lot better, because they're typically more fun and they open their helmet up when they're attacking. So I think they're honestly better. Oh yeah, these things suck. These things just fucking suck. Hands down, they suck. They're not memorable. No one really cares about them. I'm going to also put leeches right behind them, because leeches suck and nobody likes fighting them. And also the other thing is, like, I never met one person who is like, man, I love the leeches. I think the only reason they're memorable is they could take over enemies, which we have the stump. And I would probably put them in B tier, just simply because they do make better enemies, and I think the enemies are kind of actually more enjoyable for some part. Okay, we got Savage Drone, which in my opinion is right there. They're okay, but they're not really like, I think their look is more memorable. I don't remember them having like any really voice lines that are like stick out. Grenadier, Elite Grenadier, I would probably have to say it goes right behind the Scion. Oh, it's a possessed DV. Okay, yeah. We're just gonna stick that right there. I am not. Okay, this is just the S tier of trash. I hate these things with a burning passion. Especially that the fact that they can fly around to go over cover. The best kind of way to deal with them was like through turrets, or like inconceivable in Gears 4 or 5 or Gears 4. These things are suck a fat dick type of enemies. You know what? I'm gonna add a row. We're gonna call this row. You know what? That's fine. We're gonna call this row. We're gonna call please delete. Please delete. That's what we're gonna just call these. I'm not gonna say suck a fat dick because someone's gonna be like, well, that goes okay. We're gonna put that right there. That's where that goes. What's another enemy? Oh yeah, we're gonna turn this into please delete or remake. Redesign. Yeah, redesign. That's what I'm looking for. Redesign. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Okay. I mean, these guys are like one-off enemies, so I'm gonna... I would probably say they are one-off enemies, but in my opinion, they're not really that special. Like, they don't have any cool attacks. Their only one attack is like melee, and I get they're supposed to be like, oh, mutated humans, but it's like you built up okay, pause. We're gonna pause the video for this. So the thing is like the game's built up the Lambent. So here's the thing. When they built up this enemy and we finally got to see the human enemies, they were not anything special. And I hated the Lambent from day one because they didn't feel special. Now I could see why they only showed the dredges off, because they knew the other enemies did not look that solid. Like, look at this drone right here. Look at this Grenadier. That does not look like this Grenadier is mutated. Like, okay, I know someone's gonna say, yeah, it does, duh. But the thing is like, there is so much shit you can do, and so much creative freedom you had, that I think all of the top enemies got like all the freedom, and all the lower enemies got shit on. Because, to me, I hate the Lambent. I think they're awful. I think they're badly designed. I think, and if you know me, I'm a huge lover of zombification in nature. If I could pick a career field, that would probably be my career field. Outside of like probably fishing as like a general thing for life. And you know, the thing is like, I hate what they did with them. I know I probably stand alone on this hill and I will die on it, but honestly, the Lambent suck. Like, hands down, they suck. They're not memorable. They suck. I hate them. Please redesign them. You know what? Actually, since I created this list, boom, boom. Like, get rid of them. Gunkers, oh my god, I hate Gunkers. We're gonna put Dredges there too. I hate Dredges and Gunkers. Oh, let me start off with Gunkers. These guys suck ass on certain maps where the whole game is based off of cover. Now, don't get me wrong. I think, so far I am, that the Savage Boomer who shoots the Digger is a good enemy. I think that's a very good enemy because it's balanced. They see you, they shoot you, they take you out of cover. That's perfectly okay. I like that. They're not super annoying. They don't like try to duck under cover when they shoot. They're not like, ooh, you know, type of enemies. They're like, dig. And then they shoot, and then you dodge. And then you shoot them, and they reload. And then they try to shoot you again, and you kill them. That's balanced. That's great. There's counterplay. These things suck ass. They will literally lob their shit over buildings to hit you dead on. If you're not paying attention, or there's a map where they can spawn on the side behind you, like let's say the map is like an H shape, right? Like Dry Dock is a little bit. Imagine if those two areas on the side of Dry Dock were further back and you were sitting in the middle. They could lob their fucking goo, gunk, whatever, over the building and hit you directly with them. And you wouldn't even see it coming. Unless you were like sound hoarding, or sound whoring, however you want to say it, and listening for them to throw gunk. But most people aren't going to do that. Okay, I don't even know what this is. This looks like the toe biter from Grounded. So we're gonna put that there because I have no idea what that is. Okay. I think these enemies suck. I'm not gonna lie, they suck. They suck. Monkey juice. But they're pretty balanced. They're very slow. I would probably say they're B tier. Honestly, you know, let me take that back. They don't suck. Like, they're not like annoying to fight or anything. They're just kind of like tanky. Like, why do we need a shotgun enemy? You know? Why do we need an enemy that's like like, why? Like, why do we need this enemy? It's just not needed. Fuck me, now I gotta make a new category called not needed. This is a drone. And I would probably have to say, I mean, it's just a normal drone. It's not like it's spectacular. Okay, since I have a category for non-enemies, since I have that category, Okay, these guys are worse than these guys. And, like, hear me out. These guys will shoot you and, like, make you duck into cover. These things are fucking annoying. Like, these things are so god awful that, like, it doesn't even make sense why we're fighting robots. Honestly, like in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense. Like, just redesign Locust enemies to literally be just literally like redesign like just redesign them. They just suck. The fact that they could come over cover, shoot you, nearly wipe out your entire team to where they do not feel like enemies. They feel like bosses. Like, they're just ridiculously tanky, they're ridiculously annoying, and they're god awful. Now we got basically Lambent drones, which are Lambent wretches. They are memorable because we didn't even know what Lambent was back then. So they're kind of memorable, but they're basic just exploding wretches. So I would probably have to put them right behind exploding wretches. And I'll put them ahead of exploding wretches, to be honest, because they do explode and they are kind of better enemies for that. Oh, bastions. I actually generally like bastions. Excuse me. I like them, but I don't like them. And so I'm going to put them in D tier, because the reason why I don't like them is sometimes they'll fly behind buildings. And on Gears, like, I think they're in Gears 5 alone. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're only in Gears 5. And I think that's the problem, is they will fly behind buildings. And, I'll organize the list after this. I'm just putting them in place. Polyps. Nobody likes polyps. I think generally polyps suck. I don't think anyone really likes them. They're kind of just disposable. I like these enemies, but I kind of don't like them because they just end up they just end up sitting across the map, not doing anything, and then at the end of the game, at the end of the round, you just come over and kill them. Like, they have no purpose. I have no idea what that is. Is that... Oh! That's supposed to be Leviathan. Okay, that's a boss enemy. Okay. Like... Okay, yeah. This is a fucking oh, this is a boss, so... The helicopter boss fucking sucks. I honestly hate fighting helicopter boss. It's not even that fun of a boss. Like, it just sucks. I'm surprised I want I wouldn't consider stocks. I would consider them non-enemies, to be honest, because you don't fight them, you just shoot their pimples. They're more like respawners rather than like anything. We got juvie drones, which they're basically just drones. Oh, okay. We got actually a pretty good boss fight. So I'm going to say that this boss fight is probably, I would say this boss fight is probably really good, actually. I mean, the Berserker, you don't fight like other enemies. You fight the Berserker alone, and she's pretty memorable. The Zerker, they call her. The Zerker is very memorable. She's very great. She's got the aura, she mogs, yada yada yada, Gen Z slang, or Gen Alpha, whatever. And then also the other thing she does very well is she is very menacing, and that's what a boss fight needs. You want your villain boss fight to feel like, oh shit, I just barely dodged that. Oh fuck. That's what you want the boss fight to feel like. You want this kind of like urgency that's like, oh shit, your heart's pumping, the blood's circulating, Circer ain't playing around. And that's where I think that comes from. And the reason why Rom is first is because he's very, very solid. But like I said, if you know how to fight him, he's I I don't like pouncers. I feel like I don't mind the fact that they could jump onto cover and knock you out of cover. Kind of to me is just bad. I would probably have to say let's put the butcher up here, because that's fair. I'm pretty sure this is the Brumok that gets mutated. I mean, it's a boss fight, don't get me wrong. But it's really not that memorable. It just kind of stands there and lets you shoot at it. I don't even think it can kill you. So, in my opinion, it is probably the worst boss fight in all of Gears history, if you want to consider it a boss. These are exploding juvies, which doesn't really make any sense. Like, how did the grenades stick onto the juvie without the juvie exploding? It doesn't really make any sense. And I've seen like a bug where it kind of looks like the juvie has pigtails. I don't know if that was intentional or if that's like a bug, but it's so funny. I would probably have to say oh yeah, this is a boss fight, so I gotta put that in boss fights. Um, I'll fix the list. What? Wait, how did the Cantus get back down here? Get your ass back up there. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna put that right there. Um. Okay, we're just gonna put the juvie right next to the juvie. The lambent leviathan. Um. Honestly, it's cool, but it's not memorable. Like, at this point, if the lambent can literally just go take over everything, why doesn't it do that? Why does it still try to fight humans if it already can basically just climb itself out of the wall? Okay, I'm just gonna take these last three enemies and I'm just gonna put them up here for now because these are all bosses. And we're also going to take the bosses. Okay, good. I could just slide it down. And we're just going to do that. So we got Digger. We're gonna put these guys up a little bit so I don't have to scroll back down. But so we got Hunter, who I don't remember anything about Hunter, honestly. And then we got Digger, and Digger is a very great enemy. I think Digger is probably one of the best enemy designs because it's actually fairly balanced. And okay, so we're going to take a quick bathroom break and then I'll organize this. So if you want to skip ahead, you skip ahead and you see when I get back, I'm going to go like this. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, but I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, I don't think these move. Okay, it looks like we might need to get the tape.
doing?